does height really attract coaches? Is what he's saying. I'm thinking, if I can answer this, I'm thinking for certain positions, and Coach Reyes kind of hit on this on the last show when he said height really don't matter if you got it. If you're a dog, if you're showing everything on film, height won't matter as much. But answer that question right there for us, Coach.
It really depends on the position, to be honest. There are certain positions that you can get away with being shorter. Offensive line is not one of those positions. It really depends on what the coaches are looking for. If you are a shorter offensive lineman, you have to have long limbs, long arms.
Mm-hmm.
Um, at wide receiver, you can be a short wide receiver if you're dynamic. I mean, just look at Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle and some of those explosive guys that got away with not being, very tall. Running back is another position that you don't have to be very tall at.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you know, but there are key positions where you're going to need some height, and if you don't have it, you're going to have to be a dynamic player. When I say dynamic, you're going to have to be a guy that, no matter how big you are, coach cannot turn you down.
Yeah.
Also, if you're smaller, you're going to have speed, a lot of speed, a lot of agility. So you can't get away with being a smaller guy, but if you are going to be a smaller guy, you have to be dynamic. And when I say dynamic, I mean when coach cut that film on, they say, "Man, I don't care how tall he is, I have to have him."
Got to have them. Let me ask you this question. You said except for offensive line. Can you expand on that? Why would being a shorter offensive lineman kind of work against you as opposed to being a taller offensive lineman? And is there a minimum type height that you would kind of look for as an offensive lineman from an offensive lineman?
Well, I won't just say offensive line. I mean defensive line also. Those two positions where
You want
they're competing against each other. And if a defensive lineman is 6'5", an offensive lineman is 6 foot. I'm not saying that there's no 6 foot offensive lineman that can win the battle, because there are some dogs out there that can win those battles. But when you talk about a 6'5" guy versus a 6 foot guy, we talk about arm length also. And most time that 6'5" guy is going to have a longer arm length than a 6 foot guy. So when that guy, when he locks you out, you
yeah,
won't be able to get into him to be able to fight him off.
yeah.
So those are just two of the positions that, you know coaches look at the height and the length of arms, and the hand size and different stuff like that. They look at those things real in depth when it comes to those two positions.
Yes, and to hit on that one time, you have a defensive lineman on the Colorado Buffs team, 5'11", Chidozie Nwankwo. But what does he have that you just spotted out right there? Longer arms. He has the reach of a 6'4" guy, right? But
Right.
he's 5'11", 295. And if you're going to be a shorter guy, you're going to need to be dynamic. And dynamic in terms of a defensive lineman, I would say, would be explosive, very strong, quickness, lateral movement, and very, very tough up that middle. And I think that's what Chidozie Nwankwo is showcasing in that 5'11", 295, 300-pound frame. Those long arms and that nastiness about him. So I hope we answered that question right there for you, Travis.